The voice of a new generation. You're listening to Kick Radio.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the South Bank podcast. This week, I'm joined by Sammy and Jacob. How are we both?
I'm feeling a bit knackered, mate, but quite thorough conversations are going to be had today. Has been said today about the game on Sunday.
Jacob?
Yeah, I'm good. The sun's finally shining.
Yes.
Wolves, despite a loss, quite positive coming out Sunday. I thought so. Yeah, good. Ready to get into it.
Yeah, very interesting game Sunday. Lots of talking points left for us all. But let's start because there's a talking point right from the off. Diaz's goal was the first real chance of the game, and it was bundled home in the most unlikely of fashions by his belly button. Now, how did this goal come about? It looks a bit messy when you watch it back. Salah attempting to cross it in, ball deflects off Totti and straight into the path of Diaz. Sar's rushing out, perhaps he can do better, but it somehow goes in off Diaz's belly button. And yeah, I'm just really confused how this goal came about. Jacob, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the goal comes about from the fact that we were really good at containing Liverpool. I think it was a goal around the 15th minute, like that, just after the 10-minute mark. That first 10 minutes didn't really have a sniff, but the first time we committed forward, Semedo gets caught out on the halfway line, and immediately I'm with Sammy in the club saying, "Uh-oh, we're in trouble here." Because the first time we committed went forward, there the 3v3 at the back. Poor touch from Salah. Totti misfooted, flashes the ball. The first mistake he's probably made going back into the Wolves fold, and then, like you say, Diaz's molecule of his belly button, it goes in off him. Long foot in style, it's 1-0 to Liverpool. So yeah, I think it's just one of them where we paid a price for our bravery at that point, which we'll come on to again with a goal in the second half, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, you alluded to a mistake there. We saw a few others in the game, which we'll get on to later. But Sammy, what were your thoughts on this goal?
Yeah, obviously it was unlucky for us, to be fair. It hit off Diaz's belly button. Not exactly the best of goals Liverpool have ever scored. But, it's against Wolves, isn't it? So, you were bound to see at least one kind of questionable goal at least get conceded against us. But, yeah, no, for me personally, not really much you could complain about, really. I think that was our kind of only first really break in our back line initially, which led to Liverpool getting the goal. Thank you for the toast, Bob. But, yeah, that's basically it for me, in all honesty. I just think, it was not a jammy goal. It was just kind of a very questionable goal, but there's not really much for it to kind of work in our favour from that. So yeah, it was one of them ones, though, innit?
Yeah, like you both said, first real chance for Liverpool that was. We did quite well to contain their attack up to that point. I hope you're enjoying your toast, Sammy. We all know you're a fond lover of it.
Oh, mate, gotta love my toast. Gotta love me toast.
So let's talk second goal. This one, a bit more left to be debated, a bit more up in the air. Penalty is given, which we all know the result when Salah steps up to take a pen, hence where Liverpool got their second goal from. But what do we think about the actual challenge that this pen was given for? You think there's much there for debate or Stonewall pen? Sammy, I'll come to you first.
I don't think there was much there to be given in our favour, I'll be honest. So, there was a little knock on Agbadu, which kind of lost his momentum, I don't know, the word I'm looking for, not momentum, but ability to control the ball, if you get what I mean. Yeah, and obviously Diaz, he had a slight nudge on him, but I don't think it was much for it to work in our favour. And then, when he goes into the box and he's driving in and he kicks the ball out, and obviously he is unlucky to obviously get that penalty. But then at the same time, when I'm watching it back, you can see Diaz has put the initial foot in for Sar to actually kind of make that tackle. So it's smart what Diaz has done, but at the same time, it's kind of it's a bit of a ball ache, isn't it? But it's a penalty at the end of the day. We saw Salah step up to it. Me and Jacob were looking at each other and we were like, this is going in. We knew it was going in. And there you go. That's 2-0 to Liverpool by then. So yeah, I don't really think there's much for it to come in our favour from the nudge on Agbadu, but at the same time it was kind of jammy but smart what Diaz has done, in my opinion.
Yeah, I do have to agree there. I do think, interestingly, VAR kind of only really looked at the initial Jose Sarr on Diaz part, which is undoubtedly a pen where Jose Sarr takes him out. Because what more can you do at that point except give yourself a 50-50 chance in really the saving, the penalty. Jacob, what did you think about Diaz's push on Agbadu? Do you think there's much in there?
Yeah, I'm actually going to disagree with what's been said already. I think I'm quite disappointed that Simon Hooper, who was utterly useless anyway, was unable to pick up on what, for me, is a push in the back on Agbadu. I think Agbadu's going to win the ball, and he only hasn't won the ball because the shoulder in the back from Luis Diaz, who then runs through on goal. And the penalty, there's not enough there for it to be overturned, but it's very, very soft at the same time. He does make contact, therefore the penalty is a penalty. But it is in no way as bad as it looked originally, where it looked like he'd been cleared out. But like I said to you at the time, Cam, Luis Diaz is a very clever footballer. He feels that contact, he goes down. But yeah, very disappointed that the push wasn't picked up on, because for me, that's a foul. For me, that shouldn't have led to the point where the penalty is given and we are 2-0 down. And speaking of being 2-0 down, I think Vitor Pereira came out after the game as a bit of a side note and said he was really unhappy with our first half performance. Even though I thought, to me, it came across as tactical, where we weren't really trying to push on to Liverpool in that first half, but we were containing them quite well. We weren't bad that first half, I didn't think, to be 2-0 down. Obviously, the second half we'll get on to much, much better, but I don't know, I think two very avoidable goals, two very fortunate goals that even Liverpool fans will say they got a stroke of luck in that first half.
I have to agree with almost everything you said there, Jacob. I was quite disappointed in Simon Huber's performance on Sunday, and I think that would be an understatement for many Wolves fans. I think it wasn't an even game at all. He was the Reds' 12th man almost at Anfield. But yeah, I think Diaz is just a very smart footballer, honestly. We saw that a few times throughout the game with Liverpool forwards diving, which we'll get on to later, I'm sure. But yeah, Diaz, I don't know. I think Agbadu, he's a monster in the air, realistically. He's not going to get outstrengthed by someone as weak as Luis Diaz physically. But yeah, it's just what it is, isn't it? I don't expect VAR to overturn it once the ref's given it, but you just hope the refs has enough vision to see what happened to Agbadu, because there was a few times Diaz got in behind Agbadu and he didn't really let it happen again. Those were the only two real times, but it just is what it is. I think I'm done with complaining personally about the referees. I'm just sick and tired of it at this point. We've done it enough this season. It's just disappointing to not have the rub of the green, really. But to move on to the only other real chance for Wolves in this first half, a free kick was given on the edge of the Liverpool box. Now, would we have preferred to perhaps play on and not take this free kick? Because Wolves were in quite a threatening position before. We did see Semedo go on after the ref had already called to go on and shoot into Alisson's hands. However, I think there was better options on. I think he probably would have took those options had the ref not already blown his whistle. But yeah, Cunha free kick, narrowly wide, very, very close to hitting that top right corner. Probably one of the better hit free kicks Cunha's had, honestly, because a few of his attempts have looked a bit wider than mark. But Jacob, I'll come on to you first. What were you thinking about this chance?
Was this the free kick that came from the Canati controversy?
Yeah, I was going to get onto that afterward.
Yeah, I was just wondering if it was the same one, so I'll speak about that when we speak about that then. But yeah, watching it on the television, I thought it had gone in at the time, this Cunha free kick. which was quite poetic considering I turned around to you both and said, "When's the last time we scored off a free kick?"
Yeah.
I thought I'd been shut right up, but no, it's the best chance we had in the first half. Where, like I say, we weren't bad, but we didn't hurt Liverpool. And in all fairness, not many teams do at Anfield. We did that second half, which we'll speak about after. But yeah, really, really well struck free kick, Cunha. We didn't know who was going to take it, whether Sarabia would be over it, whether Cunha would be over it. But Mateus stood up, and we know he's a special footballer, as he showed later on in this game. And this was whiskers away to get us right back in the game for that second half.
Yeah, I have to agree. Jacob did allude to the Canate challenge, which we'll get on to after. But Sammy, what did you think about the free kick attempt, first of all?
Is this correct me if I'm wrong? Is this the one where we was discussing if there was like if Nori or them was gonna take it, or was that a different one? Am I thinking?
Where we discussed whether he'd play into Eight Nori. Eight Nori was on the outside.
Yeah. Oh yes, this one. Yeah. You know, like Jacob said, we from set pieces, you know, we're not really the best at them. You know, and obviously free kick, we saw Cunha step up. You know, given free kicks in previous games, he stepped up and, you know, it's not been in, but there's been close chances. So, you know, we see this free kick from Cunha and unfortunately it was blocked by Van Dijk. So, you know, with the big man in him in the wall, you know, it's nothing really getting past him, is it? But yeah, you know, I don't know if Cunha, realistic, in my opinion, I think it would be nice to see obviously other players take free kicks. Like, you know, we were saying like obviously if Sarabia or even Nori, weirdly, because we saw him outside in the box. Obviously I could see why Pereira's put Cunha on the set pieces. But I think, in my personal opinion, if it was another player like Nori or even a Sarabia, you know, it would have been nice, obviously, to see them take it, but I doubt it would have went in anyway. So yeah.
Yeah, I do think that's an interesting talking point, actually, because I'd say Pablo Sarabia personally is actually a better set piece taker than Mateus Cunha. However, because Mateus Cunha has become our talisman, vice captain, so on and so forth, he does seem to get all the responsibilities just handed to him now. But the free kick itself wasn't the biggest talking point here. We all know what happened right before, and what wasn't looked into enough, as all Wolves fans will believe. Vitor Pereira was fuming after the game about this, saying that Canate should have been sent off. What do we think about Canate's shoulder to Cunha when he's already on a booking? Do we think he's lucky to get away with it, or do you think we're all being fickle? Jacob, I'll come to you first because I know you had a lot to say.
Yeah, so at the time, I don't think that there's as much in it as people were originally making out. But when you think of the kind of things that was being given that game and how soft the yellow cards were being dished out, and I believe United had another foul since his yellow card, hadn't he, before this? And that's where the main uproar comes from. I think we're allowing players to get away with two, probably yellow card challenges, some might say, even though I personally didn't think it was as sinister as originally made out. Then there's just the consistency issue there of what is a yellow card and what isn't a yellow card in football now. It almost seems like it's made up on the spot. There isn't a code of conduct they go by anymore. So, for me, in the nature of Sunday's game, that should be a second yellow card. He should not be on the field anymore now I've thought of it.
Well, I do have to agree with your points there, Jacob. Interestingly, the yellow cards, like you said, a few of them not given that probably should have been, and there's one notable one we'll get on to in the second half. But Sammy, what were your thoughts? Do you think Canate should have been off the pitch?
Yeah, I reckon it should. Obviously, at the time, we weren't really, like Jacob said, at the time, we weren't really making it as big of a fuss as, you know, it was shown after. But then when you actually look it back, it's a clear second yellow. You know, he should have been sent off for it. You know, I mean, we look at Agbadu, and obviously if Pereira had to send him off because, you know, he was on a yellow already and you could see the dangerous tackles that he was putting in. So Pereira subbed him off and put Bueno on. So I thought, you know, Arne Slot should have taken that into consideration with Canate. Bear in mind he was on the second yellow as it is, and we know how Canate is when he plays for Liverpool. You know, the guy's strong and he's not afraid to put in the tackle when needed. But for me, it was a clumsy challenge. You know, it should have been a second yellow. You know, like Jacob said, you know, yellow cards were getting distributed quite a bit in that match, and for it to not go to Canate when there was a clear foul given, I don't know. But you know how Simon Hooper is with his refereeing in it. You know, it doesn't really work in our favour half the time. So yeah, there's not really much we can do. It's how the geezer want to ref a game, which, you know, I'd never want Simon Hooper reffing a game for Wolves ever again. But can't really get that in the way of life is nowadays, can you?
You can if you
Well,
are.
Unfortunately not. There's plenty of these referees I think we'd all want to see gone. However, let's move on to the second half. We saw Konate come off for Jarrell Quansah, who had a big contribution to make for Liverpool at the end of the game. But before that, we've got a few things to get through. First chance of the second half fell to Wolves. A brilliant ball from Agbadu deep in the defence, about the halfway line. Plays through to oh my gosh. I got tongue-tied then. Brilliant ball from Agbadu from the back of the defence play through to Jean-Ric Bellegarde, who backheels it straight through to Marshall Manetzi, who, with brilliant movement, like we alluded to on the podcast last week, in his debut against Blackburn, he really throws himself about the Zimbabwean midfielder, and he finds himself through on goal, and it's a big save by Alisson to keep things 2-0 to Liverpool. However, do we think Manetzi could be doing better here? Or do we just think it's a brilliant save? Personally, I think it's a bit of both. But Sammy, I'll come to you first.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of the same as you, mate. I think it is a bit of both. You know, this is Manetzi's first ever Premier League game. You know, this was his Premier League debut. I saw when seeing him on the pitch, you know, it was nice to see him on. You know, he was able to, like Jacob was saying, he's creating that shape for us as well. Like, you know, he's getting them spaces. Sorry, not shape. He's creating them spaces for us as well, where we can able to play the ball through. I think, you know, it was like, I think he's kind of the same as Agbadu in a weird way, because when he first came, obviously he didn't really have the best of games, but then obviously you see him now. Oh mate, that man, I'll marry him if anything. I really could. But so I really think that's how Manetzi can turn out. Obviously, it was his first game against the best team in the Premier League, arguably. So, you know, I didn't really expect much of him. When I saw him on, you know, it was nice to see him on and everything. But yeah, I think if it, like you said, Cam, I think it was a bit of both. It was a good save, but at the same time, Manetzi should have been doing better.
Yeah, I have to agree personally. Big game, like you said, Sammy, for Manetzi to come on, debut at Anfield, tough place to go. And table doesn't lie, Liverpool are the best team in the league. Whether that would have gone through his mind at all, perhaps. Jacob, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously at half time we see Sarabia and Guedes, who were ineffective in that first half, go off for Manetzi and Bellegarde even.
Just to clarify to all of our audience, listeners and viewers, we call Jean-Ric Bellegarde Joshua Brooks. If you don't know, I think you should ask Jacob as to why.
So yeah, Joshua Brooks is a nickname adopted to Jean-Ric Bellegarde. Usually not on the podcast because it's a club in Manchester. So I do apologise for that. But yeah, brilliant introduction for them to again Manetzi, fantastic movement. And Jean-Ric Bellegarde, we were speaking about it in the kitchen yesterday, me and my mate. He has a way of just, when he's in midfield, almost protecting that ball and being able to play these little flicks off. He almost is very, very strong, whilst not being a very strong footballer, if that makes any sense at all. And he shows it again here. Manetzi's movement, fantastic, like we said against Blackburn, but someone get that lad a shooting upgrade, because Jesus Christ, it's about 3 times now. I will admit it's a fantastic save from Alisson, but just put it in the corners, man. I don't want to dig into him because he was fantastic, and I'm loving what I'm seeing of Marshall Manetzi, but if he just has a bit more composure for the goal there, which probably will come if he keeps getting his chances, but it's 2-1, but that set the tone for the rest of the half, and the half that Wolves were absolutely fantastic, I thought.
Yeah, I do agree with both of your points there. Manetzi, Vitor might want to work on his composure. I do agree. But yeah, initials aside for Jean-Ric Bellegarde, I thought he actually had an excellent game. I agree with your point there, Jacob. He does manage to shield the ball quite well. I think it's his low centre of gravity, personally. He caters himself well to carrying the ball as well as protecting it. He puts his body across his marker well to stop them getting to it. And I think he's always been quite good at that, to be fair. I recall mentioning to you in an earlier podcast while we were on the Jean-Ric Bellegarde hate hype, that he still does that well. And I thought it was his only good attribute. But as he's proving in recent weeks, he's got a few skills in him. Next, though, we'll move on to the offside goal for Mohamed Salah. Liverpool had no shots in the second half against Wolves. The only one they did have being this. While offside, it won't count for the statistics, but it hit the back of the net. It's the first time Liverpool haven't had a shot at home in the second half since 2017. And yeah, this one, just an excellent finish by Salah, really. I thought, personally, we were lucky that he was offside. It was very tight at the time. I don't think any of us complained. But then when we saw the replay, we were all saying, yep, that's onside at first sight. And what a ball with Trent with the outside of his foot, by the way. But what were both your thoughts on this? Jacob, I'll come to you first.
I think, like, the first goal that stood, I think, again, victim to our own bravery here, where we committed to move forward. And, you know, that was a risk we was going to take. I remember saying in the pub, or I messaged my dad at least, one of the two, saying that's the risk you take when you commit against Liverpool. But, you know, once it gets Salah in that, there's only one place the ball's ending up, and that's in the back of the net. Fortunately, it was offside. Big volumes, doesn't it, to this absolutely insane season that Liverpool didn't have a shot at goal in that second half. Still managed to have the ball in the back of the net and get a penalty. But that just speaks to the absolute insanity of this football club this season. But yeah, happy it didn't stand because we had all the momentum leading up to that goal. I think it was a bit of a relief from the Liverpool fans around us in the pub on Sunday that goal had hit the back of the net. It wasn't really a jubilant, I'd say more of a relief, and that would have been game over. But thankfully, the goal didn't stand. And what I do really like is we did not let this blow us off. We didn't let this almost be a caution to us that, oh, this is what Liverpool can do. We just continued on our game and continued pushing that goal. And I think that's what really impressed me. And what's impressed me the last few weeks of the player, there seems to be a proper mentality shift from when Gary O'Neill was here in this football club at the minute. A team of togetherness, not a team of individuals who are going to drag their knuckles when it's going against them. A team of, like, we're here to fight now, and that could be so important for the end of the season.
Yeah, I completely agree with everything you just said there, honestly, Jacob. Sammy, do you have anything to add?
No. Well, I mean, you guys have kind of basically said what I was going to say, realistically. Yeah, like, you know, we were fortunate that it was offside. But, you know, we were kind of 2-0 down as it was anyway. And then we just kind of saw when we was all there watching it, we didn't really, you know, we wasn't really taking anything into account. We just kind of played it as it was onside. But then obviously when you saw the VAR screen just coming up on the TV and you're just like, oh, well, we don't know how well this is going to go for us, in it. But no, it was fortunate for us to work in our favour. But like Jacob said, like, you know, when we do have a high press against a big club like Liverpool, you know, they can easily find that way to just get that goal back. And like Trent, like you said, that outside ball from Trent into Salah, you know, that stuff that Pereira, I like what Jacob has said about the mentality change at Wolves. We can all see that. We can see how the difference in players and how they were playing under Pereira compared to how they were under Gary O'Neill. So, you know, there's a nice little mentality change in there. But yeah, like, you know, this didn't really throw us off realistically. Like, you know, we just kept fighting to get at least a draw, which arguably I feel like should have been deserved for us in that game. You know, we did not deserve to have lost that game. That second half performance, the whole time we had 16 shots, 16 attempts, and they had 6. And we had 10 shots in the second half, they had none. So, I mean, Liverpool, mate, you might be top of the league, but you're struggling against Wolves. So, I ain't really complaining there, am I?
I have to agree. Liverpool were quite lucky to hang on,
Mm.
but they almost had another opportunity to make it 3-1. Now, I know we'll all have a lot to say about this for various reasons, some of them including the man involved, Diogo Jota, a man, maybe a fan, but a man many Wolves fans love. Our former number 18, brilliant for us in both the Championship, Premier League, and even the Europa League, showing no class with this dive. Agbadou does not even make contact with Diogo Jota as he slides in. A risky challenge, I thought, while on a yellow card, personally. I don't think he should be throwing himself in like that when he could have very easily made contact. He got subbed off shortly after Santiago Bueno following this. I thought it was probably his worst performance for us yet, on a side note. But Diogo Jota, are you going to get out the swimming pool? Jacob, what were your thoughts on this horrific dive? Because I know you had plenty to say at the time.
Oh, Diogo. You'd still find a bigger Jota fan than me before this game. A player I absolutely adored, a player I absolutely loved. Seeing that really felt like being cheated on, in all honesty. That's the only way it can be described. It was horrible. And I understand it's the game. I understand. Do what you need to win. But it's cheating. And it's against a club who, I know there's been some absolute, not got a word from, but have booed him when he's returned. But the majority of fans have clapped him, have gave Jota his flowers, because he was fantastic for Wolves, and he really let himself down on Sunday. I've calmed down a bit to it, just how I was when it originally happened. I was quite incensed at the time. But yeah, just disappointing to see, really. Do agree with the Liverpool fan next to us who said that Agbadou shouldn't be diving in like that on a yellow card, but he doesn't make contact at all. And what I don't understand with Jota the fucking flap, the little clown, is if you stay on your feet, you're going to probably score. You have a shot on goal. Why are you diving to the floor? I honestly don't understand it at all. It was really, I'd say, very disappointing to see.
Maybe the dive was Jota's way of showing his love to kill the goal scoring opportunity, because he could have very easily squared it to Diaz as well. Yeah, a bit of love lost for you, Jacob.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave the heartbroken Jacob Jones to one side. Sammy, what were your thoughts on Jota's dive?
I'm not annoyed. I'm just disappointed. Nah, I mean, from a boy who was made in Wolverhampton to then go and play at Anfield, to then do that against the team that literally created him. Like, I'm sorry, I'm saying it here. We made Jota. Like, we made him to be the baller that he kind of is. And, to do that against a team that literally created you to be the man that you are today, it's like Jacob said, it does feel like cheating. Like, no, like you said, he could have easily had a shot on goal, easily could have. Like, Agbadou, okay, yes, he needs to kind of be careful when he's on a second yellow. Like, I understand, he wants to try and not concede goals, as many goals as possible. But then for Justin to just do that, like, I don't know. I'm a bit mixed feelings. Like, I get it. Like, you want to try and get a goal at the end of the day. That's fair enough. But there could have been other things. You could have, like you said, Cam, he could have squared it off to Diaz and he could have had a shot. Or, he could have Jota could have easily had a shot himself and it probably might have gone in. But yeah, to try and get a dive, well, not get a dive, to try and dive against the team that made you to be the man that you are, I am fuming. I am actually fuming. Like, I'm sorry. When I watch it back as well, I was literally, I was saying to my missus, I was like, I'm actually fuming with this man. And I'm having a whole flat full of Liverpool fans as well saying, oh, he didn't dive and all this. I'm like, mate, it just does me head in. It does my head in. But I'm not going to lose my head on the podcast. I'm going to stay calm. But yeah, I think Jota, I'm looking you deep in the camera right now, mate. My respect for you has lost. I never want to see you play at Molineux ever again. Thank you.
Wow, some big head loss from these two over here.
Yeah.
I personally actually don't hate Jota that much for it. I might get some stick off both of you for this, but it's just the name of the game, isn't it? We saw Diaz do the same in the first half, like we mentioned. I think all modern forwards do it. It's just something you have to do mentally in this era of football, because otherwise you're not making the most of every chance.
But he did it against us. Like, I don't care. I don't care.
I don't
Ipswich
think
or
I hate
United
him.
just against Wolf. Why?
I don't think I hate him. I'm just very, very disappointed. I expect a 200-word document of Diogo Jota apologising in the next 48 hours, please.
Well, I'll leave the two heartbroken kids over here. It's time to look at the best highlight of this game. Shortly after, Wolves still with fire in their belly, going at the Liverpool defence. Where do I start to describe this goal? Joshua Brooks with the assist, a back heel to Cunha, who sends both of his markers and with his weak foot just curls it into that far bottom corner past Alisson. Just what an utterly crazy goal, especially at Anfield, and one that sent the Wolves fans into raptures. Where do we start with this goal? Just phenomenal, really. Jacob, I'll come to you first.
So, wow, what a goal! Like they start with Joshua Brooks, the back heel from Mr. Bellegarde. And then, is it Quanta who was it? Yeah, but yeah, he goes to act like he's driving in that way. After he sends him to the shop.
It was Gravenberch. It was Gravenberch.
There's neither of them then. But so
I think Quanta was as well, to be fair. Because he sent two people, but I couldn't see who was behind.
Yeah, he sends him to the shops. Little drag, and what a finish! Absolutely scintillating goal. Alisson, I mean, he can try and save that 10 times over, and he's still not getting to that ball. Absolutely, we know how good this man is, and that's why this man unfortunately won't be here next season. He is just too good. He is ridiculously good at football, and wow, no less than we deserved. Even though we were knocking on the door for the whole half, really, and we knocked on the door even more after going this 2-1 stage. Really, really knocking. And I think Vitor Pereira has a lot to be credited for that. We were calling in the first half for a 3-man midfield, and we kind of saw that. We saw obviously Sarabia and Guedes go off, Bellegarde win that more central role. And I think it worked fantastically. I think it allowed Cunha that space with Manexi, because Manexi played a bit further forward, to almost drag out that centre-back pairing of Van Dijk and Canati, who are, when they're obviously solid and compact, you're not getting past them. But when you're, Constance was on the second half, but still two very capable footballers. But when they're able to be dragged apart, you open up space like that for you to work his magic. And unfortunately, we didn't go and get another one, because what a moment, what a goal.
Sammy, anything to add here?
Well, I mean, Joshua Brooks, what has gotten into him recently? Like, what has Pereira done to change this man? Like, Joshua Brooks last year, he was gash. He was literally gash. Like, I saw that guy on the ball, and I was like, oh no. Like, there was so many like negative feelings going through my mind. And then seeing him now, like in recent games as well, like he's performing incredible. Like, I think we're starting to see the Bellegarde finally arrive at Molineux. But yeah, obviously, excellent strike from Cunha on his weak foot and all, like put it into bottom left. It's what a man. Like, we always say this. He is our star boy. He is our talisman for Wolves. I do want him to kind of stay with us. Like, I kind of feel personally that the way Pereira's tactics and style of play is perfect for Cunha. And I think, like, if he was to go to another club, I don't think it will kind of work well. I mean, maybe under Amorim if he was to go to United, but any other teams, I can't see him performing how he is at Wolves into them. That's what I mean. I'm kind of finding any excuse for him to try and stay if he is listening, which I doubt he is. But I just don't want him to leave. But I genuinely feel like how he's been playing for us recently has been incredible. He is our talisman, and I don't want him to leave. But I kind of think Pereira, his style of play for Pereira is how the best that he can get out of him. And make him thrive better as a footballer. But yeah, going off topic here, but back onto the strike. Yeah, it was a lovely strike. Allison, no one was saving that. I don't think no one was saving that because it was just so perfectly killed into the bottom left and all. But yeah, Gravenberch, mate, can you pick me up a pint of milk when you come back from the shops, please, lad? Cheers.
Well, Sammy, interestingly, you took my next talking point right out of my mouth. I was going to actually talk about Vitor Pereira's tactics. I saw a few talking points on Twitter after the game, a few Wolves fans saying who've been watching us a lot longer than we've been alive, from like 60, 70, saying they think Cunha is the best player they've ever seen put on a Wolves shirt. I was going to ask you originally if you both agree with this, but I thought of another interesting point. Do you think, despite tactical advancements from Gary O'Neill, do you think Vitor Pereira, his system relies far more on Cunha than Gary O'Neill's did? I actually personally think it does in a way. However, I think what Vitor Pereira's done that Gary O'Neill is incapable of doing is making us defensively and solid through our defence and midfield, which is much more important. But I do think the team does overly rely on Cunha for our output in terms of attack, especially with the likes of Hwang and Strand Larsen injured, who haven't been playing well themselves anyway in this system, but were still some of the ones with the higher numbers in the squad. Guedes, it was quite a poor half from him, I thought, in the first half, hence why he was taken off. But yeah, just a few talking points, really. I have to agree, Cunha, I'd love him to stay another season, but I just don't see it happening, especially with how low this release clause is rumoured to be, which I personally think is absolutely stupid by the club to include such a low release clause, reported at 62 million. That is pennies. We're seeing the likes of Dean Huijsen at Bournemouth have a 50 million release clause for this summer that looks set to be activated by the likes of Barcelona, Bayern Munich, who has only had one senior season in the Premier League, bear in mind. And while he's 19 and a phenomenal talent, undoubtedly, when you have someone who is undoubtedly world-class like Cunha, I will go out there and say that. I think he is very easily one of the best forwards in the league now. And I think it's there for all to see. Like Sammy said, he'd fit perfectly in at United, I think. He'd fit in at Arsenal as well, I think. And I just don't see where he goes in the summer because I think there'll be so many teams after his signature. But Wolves, we just can't seem to sell players correctly. But I've left you with a few talking points there. I'll get on to you both. Jacob, I'll start with you.
So I want to start with the shout of Pereira ball being more reliant on Matheus Cunha than Gary O'Neill's was. I personally disagree with the statement. I think that, yes, are we reliant on Matheus Cunha? Yes, but any bottom half team would be. I don't think that's to do with the system. I think that probably quality of other players. However, I think we play through the midfield a lot more with Pereira now. I think we have that bit of obviously defensive structure, but also the wing backs are playing different now, where it's almost less of a reliant on them getting forward. It's more of a reliant on the wingers getting forward. Obviously, we saw the goal against Aston Villa where it was Sarabia and Bellegarde linking up, and I think we see a lot of that now where the ball is being played through their midfield roles and outward. I think we're so much more composed on the ball now, and that goes for most players on the team. I think there is definitely a reliance on Cunha, don't get me wrong, but I could say there would be. I don't think there's more of a reliance because I think literally under Gary O'Neill we got 2 wins literally because of Matheus Cunha being the only good football on the pitch. Whereas you look at the game against Aston Villa, you look at the game against Leicester, against Man United, we won that game because there was 11 good players on our pitch. So I do believe that is not the case. In terms of Cunha in the summer, we're going to be talking about this month. I personally think Man United he'd fit perfectly into, but I do not want to see him go to the top six football club where there's such a legacy of failure on them now with new players that go there and are almost instantly wrote off if they don't hit the ground running. I think we saw with Mateus even at Wolves. I know that's his first time in England where it takes players time to settle in. I don't think you get that bedding in period at Manchester United. I think Arsenal would be the move for him now. As much as I don't care where he goes, I just would rather him play Wolverhampton Wanderers until the day he hits the grave. But that's unfortunately can't happen when you have a player this good at football.
Yeah, I have to agree with everything you said there. Just to emphasise, for any listening, these aren't my points. These are just points I picked up from fans on social media. Sammy, I'll come on to you next.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to agree with Jacob here. In all honesty, like we see more of the wing backs like playing more attackingly and more, given that higher press as well, but also being able to drop back as well as the midfield as well. Like, we're seeing them changing their shapes and everything to create them passes through. Under Gary O'Neill, we were unfortunate with our defensive struggles, but then also at the same time, it was like I kind of see how Gary O'Neill kind of relied on Cunha more because of him being obviously a talisman player. But then obviously seeing under Pereira, like Jacob said, like the games against Leicester United and Villa, like, it wasn't really much Cunha at all. It was more of the other players. Like we're seeing Sarabia coming out of his shell, as well as Bellegarde, as well as Guedes. Like, I think with Pereira and how his kind of tactics and style is, he kind of wants to play through Cunha instead of actually to Cunha to try and see if we can give these other players a chance. Obviously, like Jacob said, we could be talking about this for yonks about what team Cunha could go to if we want him to stay and everything. Because, we've got how many other games? About 15, 16 more games now until the end of the season. So, it's one of them ones. I think Pereira's tactics and styles is kind of beneficial for all the players realistically. Like we're seeing a massive change in how the defense is compared to the midfield, as well as the attack as well. Like we're creating more chances, making that space more open for more for the teams to not for us to play the ball through to other teams. So yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with your opinion, Cameron. I think what Jacob has said is kind of what I'd agree with, if anything.
Yeah, no, just to emphasise there, these are not my opinions. I actually do agree with you both. But these are just talking points I picked up from Wolves fans across various social media after the game. And I thought it'd be interesting to mention, although I have let us get distracted, there is one final chance Wolves had in this game, and it was near the death. Once a phenomenal challenge after some brilliant work. Cunha plays a ball to Jean-Ric Bellegarde, who plays it out wide to Tommy Doyle, who did excellently to find a pocket of space, I thought, that no one else picked up on, who squares the ball to Marshall Manetzi. And what a challenge to stop it going in, unfortunately for us. And that move was phenomenal as a team, I thought. And it was exactly the goal we deserved. I thought Wolves deserved no less than a draw. If not more, honestly, for mainly that second half performance. But what do we think about this utterly phenomenal tackle from Quansah to keep it level at the end? There was a lot of relief in the Anfield crowd when he made this challenge because they knew that was probably what just secured them 3 points. Sammy, I'll come to you first for this one.
Yeah, Quansah, I have to apologise. I haven't really seen him play much for Liverpool, but obviously when I saw him play against us on Sunday, I thought when he got subbed on, he's a good defender, good person to have in that centre half. But yeah, it was a good tackle. It was kind of like we was getting our oohs and ahs up and down, like we didn't really know how to feel because You know, we wanted that extra goal, just to come in, just at the back of the net. Like I'd happily feel like we genuinely deserved a draw, and like you said, Cam, if not more, we should have won realistically, just because of that second half performance. But yeah, it was a good tackle from Kwanzaa. Like you said, Carl, you know, the reliefs all over Anfield were all lifted, and you know, it's a shame really, because I genuinely believe, and as well as other Liverpool fans who I've got friends with, even they said that, you know, we deserve to at least draw or even won that game. So hearing it from die-hard Liverpool fans, you know, it's kicking the teeth really. But at the same time, you know, the game's a game. Can't really do much from that, can you?
Yeah, I have to agree there. A lot of my friends, Liverpool fans as well, who shared those thoughts. Jacob, what did you think about that excellent team move?
Oh wow, atypical of our second half performance, I think. Tommy Lath finding himself in a place that isn't even really his game out on that wide side there. Brilliant work from Bellegarde and Cunha to find him, and he puts the ball across to Manetti, whose movement's brilliant once again. But wow, Joao Constant, probably the best piece of defending we've seen this season. Um, and that could be massive, not only in this game, but in the title race. Sure,
Yeah.
Liverpool 3 points. I think Joao Constant really should be probably holding his head higher than anyone else in Anfield coming out yesterday, because I think Manetti, as appalling as his finishing Mason, would have finished that because it was yards out. And again, fantastic movement from him, like I say. But yeah, very frustrating, but we can hold our heads high. But a brilliant piece of defending denied us a point at Anfield, a place where the Premier League trophy is probably going to be lifted in May.
Yeah, I have to agree. Very important in the title race, that challenge will probably prove to be. We didn't really expect anything going into this game, and we were all very proud of Wolves' performance afterwards. Obviously, unlucky not to get a point at the least, but I hope all of our listeners today are happy with the performance as well. I think it'd be hard not to be. But before we leave you, I'm going to ask you both for your standout performers. I'm going to go with a rogue shout. I'm going to say Totti Gomez. I thought he did very well in driving through the defence, driving out the defence, to play the ball in and drive us up the field. However, he did leave a bit to be desired defensively. Marshall Manetti, I thought when he came on, did excellently just to create space for other players. Like Jacob said earlier in the podcast, we all thought that we need another man in midfield when watching at the pub, as it just pulls players out of position. Liverpool have an excellent midfield as is. But aside from the obvious one being Cunha, who were all your standout performers? Jacob, I'll come to you first for this one.
Yeah, I think obviously Manetti and Bellegarde at half time made a real impact coming off the bench.
Yeah.
I thought that Matt Doherty again, solid. I said to you, if we do end up getting relegated this season, he can, or regardless of what happens actually, he can be one of the people that holds his head up highest. Not because he's been one of the best performers, but because he's put in that shift when so many people wrote him off in a position that he doesn't really play. But yeah, João Gomez again, obviously standard performance from him, absolutely everywhere. I would have preferred Andre to have gone off when Doyle was introduced as opposed to João. I thought João was really good once again on Sunday, probably an audition for Liverpool, but he does that every single week, doesn't he, João Gomez? You could never fault him. So yeah, they're probably my standouts. I thought Doyle was good when he came on as well.
Yeah.
Very nice to finally see him, the shackles unleashed. I do want to pitch to you two though. Just are we ever going to see Carlos Forms put on a Wolves shirt again?
Oh no!
We did not have a single attacker on that bench yesterday, unless you're counting Manetti, who came on as an attacker, but he's not an attacker on that bench, and that man still didn't come on. Oh, what's the point of him being here? It's not going to be played.
I do feel bad for him. I don't think we will see him play, honestly. I reckon it's just a very low amount of appearances needed to trigger that mandatory buy option, and Wolves aren't willing to do it. But Sammy, who are your standout performers before we wrap this up?
I'm going to say one that you haven't actually mentioned. I'm going to say Aït-Nouri as well.
I think he was really good.
Quick feet. He was able to skill through a couple of Liverpool players, don't really think
It was a
he.
bit too high up for me, though.
Yeah.
I think
Like,
he
I
played
saw.
a bit too high, leaving Totti.
Yeah, like I did see as well. Wolves did post Eight Nori's heat map, and it was just all up and
Yeah.
down that left wing. Like, you know, it was he was just running up and down. Like, you know, he's good. He's good for his feet. He's very quick on the feet. He's very agile. Like, you know, he can just get the ball out no matter what. I don't think it's been his best of games, but obviously, I think how he played against Liverpool, you know, he could have improved a bit just by obviously looking for that correct pass to cross it into the box when he is up high on the opposition side. But at the same time, quick feet, he was able to skill through a couple of Liverpool players, and you know, him, Cunha, obviously we mentioned Joshua Brooks as well, and you've said Totti, but yeah, I'd really say Eight Nori was probably my other one, besides from obviously the ones that you lot have already said. But yeah, Eight Nori for me as well, I'd say.
Yeah, I did. I was very impressed with Aitnuri's performance as well. Although, yeah, Jacob, I think you are right. Like we saw with the Salah offside, he can be a bit too high up sometimes and leave space open. But I thought his footwork was just phenomenal. He was sending Liverpool players left, right, and centre. Personally, if we count them as 2 goals, I think it's 3-2 to Wolves. So I think we can all wrap it up with that Wolves win 3-2 away at Anfield.
Well, we've got Bournemouth next week, so
very tough game away at the South
game.
Coast.
Yeah.
How do we think that's going to go against a ridiculous form Bournemouth? I personally think we have no chance. I think that's going to be much harder than the game against Sunday was, and I said that before kickoff as well, because realistically, myself, I knew Wolves would step up against Liverpool. I knew we'd put in a good performance. Bournemouth, I think it's just a tough place to go. I think almost all of the big six have lost there this season, regardless of the other teams who have as well. What do we think is going to happen against the Cherries?
When's the last time we won there? Was it Matinho game?
I think it was the Matinho free kick game. So we're looking back a very long time.
We won there last year, didn't we? Sasha scored.
Oh yeah, Cunha and Sasha scored in the last minute. Yeah, I forgot about that.
I forgot about Sasha. Like, I actually forgot he played for us. I thought he died.
Yeah, honestly, that guy spends more time in a hospital bed than in a Wolves shirt.
Yeah.
He's always there, though. He is always there.
He is always there.
Yeah, we always see him watching Wolves. However,
fair enough to him.
Yeah.
I think you know, it's a tough fixture with Bournemouth. You know, they're incredibly good forms this season, but then at the same time, I'm kind of on the contrary, because you saw the performance how we played against the best in the league. Like, you know, it wasn't a terrible performance how we played. Like, I don't want to get my hopes up high, like, but
no,
I think, you know, we got them in the league, obviously in our next fixture is on Saturday, but then a week after we're playing them in the FA Cup. So hopefully, you know, I'd like to see if we was to lose on Saturday, you know, any areas for improvements for when we play them the week after. You know, Pereira could take that into account. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, we kind of do need 3 points realistically. We need to get ourselves back up, because we're suffering on the brink of relegation at the moment. And after Bournemouth, you know, we've got a kind of, I don't want to say easy, but some winnable fixtures, some very, very, very winnable fixtures that we have after Bournemouth. But, you know, they're in good form, aren't they? You got Evan Nilsson, Semenyo playing at the best of their best currently, and Christie as well, and Kirkes.
Kluivert, Rutara, both getting hat tricks this season.
Kluivert was dancing in the waiting room for his child being born, so I don't think it'll be performing at his best. I don't know. I'm just kind of making excuses here.
I hope he's still absent because of paternity leave, but I really don't think he will be by then. Yeah, congratulations on the birth of your child, Justin Kluivert. But
congrats,
yeah, I don't think it's going to go very well for us. I think it's going to be a much harder game than the Liverpool one. I do think our fixture list does ease up a bit, like you said. But Jacob, what are your thoughts?
You mentioned our fixture list easing up. For me, I just see as we're getting closer and closer to that Ipswich away game, which I'm not mentally prepared for. I think that's going to be probably like the most horrible 90 minutes that we'll ever go through, depending on the results before that. But yeah, I think for me, would much rather beat them on Saturday than beat them in the cup. As much as I'd like a cup run, survival is imperative. But I don't see it happening. We obviously thought we did was at Molineux. I know it's a lot different at the side now, but their high press absolutely killed us that day. We Evan Ilston, as much as his goal scoring, as much as he gets some of the goals occasionally, I know it can leave a bit to be desired, particularly with Bournemouth fans, but his high press and what he offers is fantastic. You know, there's not another player that presses like him in the league. I think he's won the most penalties, hasn't he, in the league?
Yeah, by quite a lot as well.
Yeah, I mean, 3 of them were against us, like, so. But yeah, really, really tough game. They are flying at the minute, and they're fantastic to watch as well, Bournemouth. Got some really good players, like we mentioned, Semenyo, who I've always been a big fan of. Cliver, Akara, even at the back, look at lots of Turquez. Just a fantastic, fantastic football team. And if we can get a draw, then fantastic. But in my head, I'm seeing a 3-1 loss thing on Saturday.
Well, sorry to put you in there, Cam. I'm just going to bring up a stat that I've just found. We have not lost at the Vitality Stadium since 3rd of March 2015. That was when we played Bournemouth. That's when we played Bournemouth back in the Championship. Yeah, obviously 2-1 back then to Bournemouth. But since then, when we played them away,
there's been a lot of draws.
There's quite a few draws, but there's quite a few wins.
Yeah, I know.
2-1 in 2019, 1-0 in 2020, 2-1 in 2023. Like that's what these were all away as well. So you know what I mean? I don't really want to toot my own horn, boys here, but I kind of think we might have a shot at winning. I don't want to get my hopes up too high, but
they're a lot better now than they have been last
Yeah. Well, it's the best they've been in their history, really.
Yeah.
I'm not even lying. They're Bournemouth. They are realistically a very small club. No offense.
Why did Michael B. Jordan have to take over Bournemouth, man? Why couldn't he do Wolves? Why couldn't he?
Very, very strange. Bournemouth having that American influence on the club, but I'm sure we'll get more into that on next week's podcast, which we hope you will join us for. This week, we're wrapping it up here after Wolves' 2-1 loss at Anfield, but a spirited performance nevertheless. Goodbye from everyone at the South Bank podcast. Thank you for listening. I've been joined by Jacob and Sammy.
See you in a bit, peeps.
And in his words, see you in a bit, peeps. Have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening.
The voice of a new generation. This is Kick Radio.